Hello friends, so in this video we are going to study about some problems, Python problems, problem solving statements. So there are three problem statement here. In the first one, what we are going to do is we are being given a list of elements of some elements, and put we have to take some elements from that and put them into another list using a function. The function, what is function doing is using the list as an argument, and we are running some procedures on the list which we will which will select some elements that are perfect squares, right, and putting them into the another list that is called square. Here, as you can see over here, is square. So first of all, what we have done is we have defined a list that will contain element 0 to 401, all elements, all integer elements from 0 to 401 excluding 401. Okay, so in the next line we have called the function with the list that we have defined here. Now we have the function here. In the function we have passed the list, and we have defined the another list. So what we are doing here is we are uh, going through the list with this for statement here, and after that we have defined if length squares not equals to 20. What does that mean? It means that since we have been given here that it should the length of squares, we have to just put only 20 elements, first 20 elements only. So we have to define the constraint here, so that's why we have defined it here. Now for what we are doing here is in this line we are first of all I want to tell here that at square root function is not directly available in the Python. You have to import the module called math module for that the square root to enable. So we are iterating through each element of the list and putting each element into the square root, and we are finding the square root. And for a perfect square, for a number to be a perfect square, the square root of the number should be an integer, right? So what we are doing in the next line is like you can see if the integer of the number is equals to the number itself, then that means that is a perfect square. Otherwise it is not a perfect square, and we are ensuring that there are no duplicates in the square list. So we are doing it here and excluding zero element. So we are excluding each element here, and finally we return the list with the square root of all the perfect squares. Then the second problem is that we have been given two lists, and what we have to do here is we have to merge both of the list. Like as you can see right here, we have been given list A, B and C, and the second list is 1 2 3, having three elements each. What they have done here is like we have merged both of the list A, B, C, and then 1 2 3. You can shuffle it like 1 2 3 first and A, B, C, doesn't matter. It's basically your choice how you want to do it or how it is being given in the question. So there are actually a lot of methods to do this. So we are basically referring to methods only here. Like first of method, we will just take both of the list as an argument here like this, and we will add both of the list simply with plus. It's called concatenation. We will concatenate the second list to the first list and assign it to the first list, and finally we will return it from the function to the called function here. Or and we have two lists like list 1 and list 2, which both are having 101 elements. And the second method here is like we can use the extend method of the list. Extend is a method that you can use as a you can pass on as a complete list. As you can see here, append, if we use append, we can only add single element, we cannot use more than one element. For use for extend to use, we have to use more than element, and we can pass a complete list here instead of uh, taking one each element and iterating through the loop. We can use complete list and pass it on the list one, and we can just add list 2 to the list 1, and finally we will return the list 1. So these are the two ways we can do this question. And the third problem is, we have been given two lists and we have to return the third list that is alternatively having both elements, both list elements. Like as you can see here, ABC is the first list and 1 2 3 the second list. So what we have to do here is, like, take element first of the first list and first of the second list, then put it here A1. Then we have to take second of the first list and second of the second list, like B and 2. Then we have to take third of the first list and third of the second list and put it here. We have to do this. This is basically a synchronization like thing. And what we can do here is, we have to first define the new list in which we are putting the elements, and we have to iterate. And one thing here is that we have to assume here like that, the both of the list length should be same. They should not differ. If we are differing, so what we can do, we can do a lot of things. It basically depends on the question. If you are being given that it may throw an error, you can use that. Or if you are being given that do something else, so do it accordingly. So here we are not being given anything, so we are not dealing with, we are assuming simply that both the lists are having the same number of elements. And for I, like, we are being iterating any of the list of the length, list 1 or list 2, you can take anyone, no problem. Here is we can, so we simply will add the first element of list 1 and first element of list 2 to the list 3. Okay, then we will go to the second element of the list and accordingly add both of the elements to the list 3, and we will be doing until the list is over, and finally we will return the list 3. Okay, so this is it. These are three problems, and now we will be doing practical. So we are using some practical experiences. Like, now the first problem is, we have to find the perfect squares. So we will get the list 1, and in the list 1 we are x for x in range 0 to 400, let's say, right? Now we are printing the function, calling it perfect squares. Okay, and passing on the list here. Like, now we will define the function. As I told, I have to import, as I have told earlier, I have to import the function math. So for that I have to import math here, and defining the function def perfect squares and list to check. This is our argument here. This is the parameter list to check here, and first of all what we have to do is define a new list in which we are putting the squares. Like this, and now we will iterate through each element for each in list to check. We will first see if the length of squares is not equal to 20, should not be equal to 20. We will first ensure that. After that we will be doing anything else. Then we will check, we will first calculate the square root. So for that we are using math.sqrt. Okay, math.sqrt, that means of the each. that is this one. And if integer of num should be equal to num, then only we are having the perfect square, otherwise we are not having the perfect square, right? And we are ensuring that num should not equal 0, we are excluding 0 here, and ensuring that the list should not have any duplicate element for that, and not and num not in sqars. Okay, so we are done with the checkings here. Now we will just append the element. Append, and that is num, simply squares dot append num, and we are done here. So we will simply return our list. So let's see, we are getting here all the perfect square, as you can see, but we are having points, so for we then we can use integer so that it returns only integer value. 1 2 3 we are having all the perfect square up to 20. If we increase the list size here, like say if we increase it to 1000, we will still be having only 20 elements since we have blocked it to 20, so we will not be having any further elements here. Okay, so the second set of problem is like we have to merge two lists. So first we have to define the list 1 equal, so x for x in range of, let's say we are taking 100 elements, right, in the list 1, and in the list 2 we have to use, okay, this is the list comprehension. What he is doing here is we are iterating through the elements 0 to 101 and putting each element in the list with the list comprehension method. You can check it out. List comprehension method is a small way of putting element into the list that is a particular pattern, right? So in the list 2, for x y for y in range, let's say 101 to 201, right? So we have defined our two list. So now we will call the function merge list 1 comma list 2. So we have called our function. Now we will define our function here, def merge, and the arguments are list 1, list 2. Okay, so first method I told you that you can just simply do list 1 and you can just concatenate both of the lists, list 1 plus list 2. This is the plus the concatenation sign, and just simply return list 1. Okay, so let's check. As you can see here, we are having all the elements 0 to 200. Like first list is having only 100 element, and the second list is having other 100 elements. So first list is having elements up to 100 only, 100 only, right? And from 101 onwards we are having the list 2, and we can see here the list, both of the lists are merged. So second way of doing this is simple. So just copying it here. So what we can do here is just list 1 dot extend list 2. This way we can get the same result. As you can see, the same result is being displayed here. Okay, so this is done also. So now we are heading towards our third problem. So we have copied here our previous list. previous procedure, we will just name the sync sync, and in the calling function itself. Okay, so we have to use the list 3 as I have shown to you, and what we have to do is sync the elements, like let's take an example 1, 2, 3, 4, and what we have to do is like a, b, c, d, and the list should be like 1, a, 2, b, 3, c, 4, d. The list should be like this. I've shown you. Okay, so let's work on it. So what we can do is we have to iterate through the list. So for that, for I in range of length, how much? You can take the length of any list, since we are assuming the length of both of the lists are same. So I'm assuming to the list 1. Okay, the next what we have to do is just list 3 dot append the first element of list 1 first element I, and then list 3 dot append list 2 I. That means first element of second list. And as we keep on iterating here, so each element of the both of the list will be synced, and finally we will return list 3. Okay, this way we can do. So we are getting the out of list error here. Okay, the problem is we are having less elements in the list 2, so now the both of the lists are having same elements. So okay, as you can see is both of the lists are having like synced, like see 0 is the first element of list 1 and 100 is the first element of list 2. 1 is the second element of list 1 and 101 is the second element of list 2. So this way both of the lists are synced, and we are done with all our problems. So now in the problem 3 that we have just done right now, if the lists are of unequal sizes, then you can do two things there. Either that depends on the question. You can do like you can throw an error like both of the lists are not equal, so we cannot initiate further, or if the question is given, so we can add once the smaller list gets ended, so you can add the left element of list to the greater list to the returning list, right? Okay, so both of the methods are good. That depends on the question. Is there, so the second part is there any method for problem 2 to merge two list? So that's your homework. You have to find if there is any other method that you can apply to merge two list. So that's all for this video.